Patreon clone commander JMCJIN1453 has requested a sequel to my top 10 clone troopers you can get for $10 and under, but this time we are raising the bar just a little bit. So, as you guys know, clone troopers are very expensive now. They're very expensive. And I've actually done that top 10 clones for $10 or less twice, and the list got significantly lamer the second time. But for this one, this is $25 to $10. This isn't just 25 and under. This is $10 to $25. These are the top 10 that I could find for that price very easily on eBay. I just looked up Clone Trooper, and then I had my max at $25. And I found all 10 of these relatively easily, and they're my top 10. I found several others that I considered to be awesome figures, but these are my 10 that I consider to be good ones that you can find for $25 to $10. So, obviously, as you can see in this list, we're already off to a pretty good start with Clone Commander Devis from Revenge of the Sith. This one, as well as the green version, I was able to find for around $20 to $25 on eBay fairly easily. And keep in mind, I believe this is actually a figure that was on my original top 10 clones you could get for 10 and under list. So this one has become more desirable and more expensive as the years have gone on, which I'm not surprised. It's an awesome figure. But, yeah, they're getting expensive. They are getting very expensive. And we will see, I think, one or two returning cast members from the first version of 10 or less that have now gone to 25 to 10. So, that's number one. I think it's a really cool clone you can get. Next one I was actually very surprised about. For some reason, this one's actually not that expensive. I found this one for around $23, I think. The yellow ARC Trooper Commander is actually not that expensive of a clone trooper. I was very surprised to see him for a lower price. Now, granted, I say lower price, but it's still pretty expensive for a clone trooper that would have cost like $8 back in the day. It's still a cool figure, though. I love the yellow ARC Trooper, and it's just an awesome figure. I love the fact that they kind of were like, hey, there was, the red captain and the blue lieutenant. Why not make a yellow commander, but as an ARC Trooper? It's great. This is definitely one I highly recommend. But if you don't have the red and the blue, which are ones that are pushing more towards like 30, 35, a little, salty to have the yellow, but not the classic red and blue. Still a cool one, though. I really do like that one. Alrighty, next up, I do believe this is sort of a returning member from the original top 10 for 10 or less. But this one's a little different. I think in my original one, it was just the standard version. I actually very consistently found this camo ARF Trooper actually for under $20. Found it for maybe like $15 to $18 in a few listings. This is a really awesome figure. I say as he doesn't even want to hold his gun. Yeah, I love this one. He had a brief appearance, I believe, in the original Clone Wars movie. I think that's pretty much the only time this clone appeared, if I'm not mistaken. I'm probably mistaken. I haven't seen the Clone Wars in a decade. It's an awesome figure, though. Really do love it. It's actually one of the very first 3 3/4 inch Star Wars figures to integrate the ball hinged hips. It's really cool to see this added range of articulation. It just adds a lot more to what you can do with the figure. And it just made it one of the best molds, honestly. I've never been a super big fan of the ARF Trooper design. I think the helmet looks cool, but it's probably one of, if not my least favorite, specialized Clone Trooper helmet. Don't get me wrong, I still love it. It's not like I don't like it, but it's probably on the lower tier of all the specialized clone helmets for me. It's still cool, though, and if you really like ARF Troopers, I know ARFs are really popular. It's definitely a good one to get. Alrighty, next up, this one, I'm kind of running through these, man. There's not much to say. This one I was very happy to find for, I think it was a little over $20. This is actually one of my favorite figures to have a little bit of an army build of. I don't have a ton of them. I think I have like 4 or 5. It is the 30th Anniversary Collection Kashyyyk Trooper. This one is very nice. It also saw a release in the Legacy Collection. I just think it's really nice. It is a little short for a clone, as you can see next to the ARF. For whatever reason, they made him short, but it's still one of my favorites. One feature I really love about this one is the flip up for the helmet there. Really nice likeness to Tamora Morrison as well. Really do like that. And if anyone's wondering, like, oh, what should I look up for these clone troopers? Honestly, if you're looking for clone troopers on eBay, make what you look up as vague as possible. Seriously, just look up Clone Trooper, look up ARC Trooper, look up Clone Commander, look up ARF Trooper figure, you know? Don't look up specific, like, oh, I'm looking for Clone Wars number, camo ARF Trooper, 2011. Don't do that. In my experience, the best way to find some of the best deals on eBay is to keep the list, what you look for, as simple as possible. So for this, I just look up something like, Kashyyyk Trooper, something like that. So there is the 30th anniversary Kashyyyk Clone Trooper. Let's spread out a little bit. So next one, I do think I should show the companion piece to the Kashyyyk Trooper. This one I was very happy to find for around $20 to $25. I found it a couple times. It's actually one of my favorite Clone Trooper figures and characters of all time. 30th anniversary Commander Gree. I'm very happy that this is one you can find for a fairly affordable price. Like I said, he has seen, I think this one's actually seen 3 releases now. He was 30th anniversary, Legacy, and Vintage Collection. I'm pretty sure he saw 3 releases. And the fact that he has had 3 releases makes him a fairly easy clone to get. I love him. Honestly, they don't need to make another Commander Gree. They don't. This is great. If they do feel the need to make a new one, maybe update the paint a little bit, because I feel like the helmet could use a little bit more silver instead of the gray. But other than that, pretty perfect. I really don't have any real complaint. I think the body is a very nice body. This is actually one of the I think this is the very first Clone Trooper, not just Clone Trooper, I think this is the very first 3 3/4 inch Star Wars figure to have the ball hinge wrists and the ball hinge hips. Both of them. It's the very first to have both of them. You can see, because it is the very first, they are very thick. So they're very sturdy and stable, and they move very nicely as well. But it does leave him with thick wrists. I don't really mind. I still think he looks gorgeous. I still think this is an awesome figure. And this is before the Clone Wars came out, so we didn't even know he had the special haircut. So he just has a standard Tamora Morrison head. Man, I love this figure. I love it so much. Out of all of the ones on the list, it's my second favorite. You'll see my favorite. But yeah, there's Commander Gree. That's another really good one you can find for a good price. Next up, let's get these out of the way. So I was able to find some Clone Wars clone troopers, because obviously a lot of people love the Clone Wars animated stuff, and I wanted to make sure I had a fair few. I was able to find a few, but one of the ones I was able to find the most frequently was the 212th, the 2009 212th Clone Trooper. This was one I found most frequently for around $20. It's really good. I personally love the 2009 style of helmet. I think that just looks really great. I love the orange color to it. I just think it's really cool. I love how the Phase 1 versions of the Legions basically just had the standard stripe pattern, just in different colors. I just really liked that about the Clone Wars. They didn't do all the triangles and unique stuff that they did in Phase 2. Because my theory, I'll just talk about this briefly. My theory on the whole, clone colors being, they meant rank at first, and then they meant Legion. Kamino, when they made the clones, had the colors represent their rank, so they were easier to sort and everything. But when the Republic got their hands on them, they were like, we want to differentiate the Legions more, so we're going to give the Legions the different colors, not really worry about having the ranks be different colors. That's just my theory on it anyway. So, 212th, really nice, but you got to have someone to command them. I was actually able to find a lot of Clone Wars Commander Cody's on eBay for around $20. And this is a good one. This is a really good one. Unfortunately, it is an original 2008 Clone Wars clone, and almost all of these are notorious for yellowing at the waist and the crotch. This one is actually one of my cleanest samples. I say samples because I have way too many of this figure. It's, just slightly discolored, but some of these, man, they get like dirty diapers. That's what it looks like. It is a shame that a lot of the 2008 troopers discolor, but I guess they just didn't really know how to do the color chemicals for the white at the time. I guess they just had an issue back in 2008. Like Hasbro's kind of having now with Transformers. Transformers that were released like 2020, 2021, some of those are already discoloring. So, check your Cyclonus from Transformers Kingdom. Check your Cyberverse stuff. They might be yellow now. And let's keep this list going. We have a few more. This one. Love this one. Found this one for a little under 20. It's actually one of my favorite versions of the 501st Clone Trooper. It is the original Revenge of the Sith. I think it was called Special Ops Clone Trooper. I think it was released in Revenge of the Sith as well as the Saga Collection. And I do think it saw a slight repaint in the Legacy Collection. For some reason, man, this mold is just one of my favorites. Sure, from the waist up, like he has no waist articulation. And his arms are pretty limited. You're only really going to get like blaster firing poses because he has swivel elbows. But his hips, I consider this to probably be the most articulated and posable clone trooper from the waist down. You can get him in so many nice kneeling poses. It's so natural. He has a lot of nice ankle articulation. He's very stable in whatever poses you get him in too. Like he is just very dynamic from the waist down. From the waist up, he's pretty much just going to be firing his blaster, or just holding it straight like that, which I still think looks pretty nice. You can also have it looking up too, like he's holding it up. I think that looks good. He also does have that same really good Tamora Morrison head sculpt, which I just consider one of the best, even to this day. Even with the new ones they've done, I still think this is a really good head. It does have the removable shoulders, so if you're looking for this one on eBay, keep in mind some samples may be missing the shoulder pad. I would try to get it with that shoulder pad. Also, this mold is notorious for having very easily removable limbs, which it was fun when I was a kid to replicate the Revenge of the Sith video game, where it seems like every time you slashed at a clone trooper, their arms fell off. So it was kind of fun to replicate that action. But for, a collector looking for a complete one, you don't want to get a clone trooper and then realize it's missing an entire arm. But yeah, that's a really nice one. The cheapest 501st that I was able to find on eBay, and honestly, you're not going wrong with it. Now, one thing, I didn't even mention this. Probably should have prefaced the video with this. I kept out recent releases. There are no super duper recent figures on this. Many of those you can still find for $25 or less. So like TVC Commander Wolf, TVC Captain Rex, the Vintage Collection Bad Batch 4-pack. Those figures are around $25, on their own. The new 501st Vintage Collection. Those are ones that are $25 or less. Get new clones if they're out. Definitely get new clones. But I did want to keep this to older figures. The newest one here, looking at this, the newest figure here, man, 2011, I think. So over 10 years ago. So yeah, I did keep newer ones out. Let's keep the ball going. We got a couple left. Next up, love this one. This is a personal favorite. Hawkbat Battalion. I was happy to find a couple of these for around $20, $25. As you've noticed, many of these are actually hovering around $20 to $25. I didn't find many that were in the early 10s. Yeah, they're getting expensive. But I did find several other figures in this price range. These are just the 10 that I considered the coolest. And I'm like, oh yeah, you can get that for only like $20, $25. So the Hawkbat's really nice. He does have a full body underneath. So you can just take off that poncho and make him a normal Phase 1 with some dirty boots. Come on, man. Got to get that poncho going. And he does have a likeness to this. I don't think this is a Tamora Morrison head. I think, yeah. Yeah, it's a Bodhi Taylor head. Really do like that Bodhi Taylor head, though. It's a nice one. It is funny, though, with some of these older figures. You can see, I've had this one ever since I was a kid. The eyebrows. If you're really specific on condition, keep in mind, the eyebrows wear off inside the helmet. You can see all that paint in there where they've kind of worn off. It's a little dirty in there, too, for whatever reason. But yeah, it definitely will rub off eyebrows if these have been well played with. Mine's always had this weird mark on his face, too. This looks like a hair. But yeah, there's the Hawkbat. That's a really cool one. And the last one, I'm sure if you know me and if you know my channel, you're not going to be surprised with this whatsoever. I do believe this is one that was originally on that top 10 for 10 or less, but it was not on the Redux. This one I found for around $25, so he's gone up by about $15 since the last time I showcased him in one of these lists. The Yellow Bark Trooper. Still a fairly affordable clone trooper to get. One of my absolute favorites for no particular reason. I just love the Commander Neo style helmet. I love the yellow stripes. It's so rare to have a yellow clone trooper. I say as there's another yellow clone trooper on this list, but there's really not a lot of yellow clones. There really isn't. There's not a lot of yellow clones. So to see one that not only is yellow, but also has this cool Neo helmet with a yellow stripe down it. Because a lot of the versions of the Commander Neo helmet don't even have deco on it. It's just the white helmet and the colors on the rest of the body. So I think it's really cool. This is definitely one of my favorite trooper designs. One of my favorite clone figures, period. It's not one that I heavily army build. I'm not trying to have like a massive army, but I at least wanted enough to replicate the ones you saw in the comic. And I think I've enough plus like one or two. So yeah, that's definitely an awesome figure in my opinion. All of these are really nice figures. I would recommend all of these to try to get for around 20 to 25 or less. If you can find them for less, that's good. Now keep in mind, since we have raised the price, we're looking at 10 clones here, and at $20 each, we're looking at $200, you know. So, yes, this is a very expensive hobby to get into clone trooper collecting now. Now, granted, I didn't spend nearly that on any of these. In fact, I would say I spent probably less than $10 each on all of these, if I spent much of anything at all, because I collected these when they came out. I have had many of these since their release. So keep in mind, you know, that's why mine look a little worn out. That's why mine are, you know, not as expensive as they are nowadays. It really stinks. It really stinks, man. Oh, geez, we got Speed Racer passing by. It really stinks that they're so expensive now. It really does. But if you can find them for around that price, and if you're happy to pay that price, you won't regret it. They're cool figures, man. Clone troopers are awesome. I'm happy that Hasbro is starting to realize the demand for clones. I mean, if you look at my channel, I've got several new reviews of new 3 3/4 inch clone trooper figures, either out or coming out. After this, I'm going to be filming the review of the new 501st. I've got the 3 new ARC troopers they've done. And it's exciting. It's exciting that they're starting to put more out, but at the same time, there's a lot of these old, classic, iconic clone troopers that are still very hard to get. Like, looking at all of these, you know, the only one that they've really given us a nice, super modern alternative to is the 501st, because it's the 501st. It's probably one of, if not the most iconic Phase 2 clone trooper. Honestly, it's the most iconic. It was the Order 66 clone, come on. He's appeared in Kenobi and in Book of Boba Fett, the 501st. You know, it's a very iconic clone. So, obviously, they're going to make more of that, but, you know, Phase 1 Cody needs a revamp. It'd be cool to see Gree on the pegs again. Maybe someday, but for now, you can still find the old ones for fairly decent prices for now. I might do a redux on this video years from now, and the list is going to look more like the previous redux for the top 10 clones for 10 or less. Yeah, it's rough. It's rough, but honestly, deal hunt. Try to find these as cheap as you can, because if you really want to build an army, if you really want to have a nice clone collection, unless money is no object to you, try to find those deals. Like I said, look up vague terms on eBay. Don't look up the specific name, just look up Commander Gree. You'll have to sift through tons of other Commander Grees you don't care about. You might find someone that just listed Commander Gree action figure, buy it now, $7.99. You know, it's worth it. It's worth it to look up the vague terms, to look in the places where most people wouldn't look. You just gotta do what you gotta do to get those clones, man. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Special shout out to the patrons at Patreon as well. This was a Patreon requested video after all, so if you would become a clone commander, you know, like Cody or Devis or Gree or the ARC Trooper that never had a name back there, you know, you can actually request videos, and I'll see what I can do about doing them. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.